Why do so many people fail at power, leadership, and influence? Because they are obsessed with being liked. Think about it. How many times have you held back your opinion, softened your words, or avoided confrontation just to keep others comfortable? On the surface, it feels safe. Being liked seems like a shield, as if the approval of others will guarantee respect, trust, or even opportunity. But the truth is far darker. The desire to be liked is the very chain that keeps most people powerless. History is full of men and women who were admired, adored, and celebrated, only to be discarded the moment they were no longer useful. Popularity is fragile, built on the shifting sands of emotion. One mistake, one wrong move, and affection evaporates. Respect, however, is a different currency. Respect endures. Respect commands. And if you've ever wondered why those who rise to positions of true influence rarely chase approval, it's because they understand this simple truth. Admiration fades, but power survives. This is where Niccolò Machiavelli enters the stage, a man who stripped away illusions, who dared to write what others were too afraid to admit. His philosophy wasn't about comforting words or idealistic dreams. It was about survival, strategy, and the ruthless tactics that keep men untouchable. While most people spend their lives trying to be loved, Machiavelli taught that the real game is about control, perception, and influence. That might sound harsh, but ask yourself, has trying to be liked ever truly protected you? Or has it made you an easy target for manipulation? Maybe you've felt it, the frustration of giving too much, of saying yes when you wanted to say no, of bending to others, only to realize they respect you less, not more. You already know the trap because you've lived it, and that's why this message matters. What you're about to hear is not about being cruel for the sake of cruelty, but about breaking free from the weakness that society quietly encourages. Because let's face it, the world doesn't reward kindness without strength. It rewards those who master the balance of fear, respect, and authority. Machiavelli's ruthless power tactics reveal something most people don't want to admit, that being feared, or at least respected, offers a stability that affection never can. Love is conditional, approval is temporary, but fear, when wielded with precision, creates lasting control. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover may challenge everything you've been taught about leadership and influence, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The question is, are you ready to stop chasing approval and start building real power? Because in a moment, we'll dive into Machiavelli's most ruthless tactics, strategies designed to free you from the trap of being liked and to replace it with something far more enduring. And maybe right now, as you're listening, you're already remembering moments when you fell into that trap. Times when you gave away your power just to keep someone's approval, only to feel empty afterward. If that resonates with you, I'd like to hear it. Share your own experience in the comments, because your voice matters here. When you open up, you're not just telling your story, you're helping build a community of people who are also tired of illusions and ready to embrace something deeper, something stronger. And if this conversation is striking a chord with you, take a moment to like this video. It may seem small, but it's one of the most powerful ways you can signal that this message is worth spreading. Every single like tells the platform that people care about content like this, which means it can reach more minds, more leaders in the making, more people who need to hear it. And of course, if you're finding value here and want to keep diving into the hidden truths of psychology, philosophy, and power, make sure you subscribe. That way, you won't miss what's coming next. And trust me, what comes next will take this even further. The growth of this channel depends on you, and your presence here is what gives these ideas life. Together, we're not just consuming content, we're shaping a conversation that pushes us beyond comfort into real transformation. So stay with me, because now we're about to step directly into Machiavelli's world, where he lays out the ruthless power tactics that will change the way you see leadership, control, and influence forever. Niccolò Machiavelli was not the kind of man who lived in dreams or comforting illusions. He was a product of a turbulent world, a time when betrayal, ambition, and shifting alliances defined the destiny of entire nations. Born in Florence during the Renaissance, Machiavelli witnessed firsthand how fragile power could be. Leaders rose and fell overnight, not because they lacked intelligence or resources, but because they failed to understand the raw truth of human nature. He was not writing from the safety of theory. He was observing the dangerous game of politics and survival up close, and his insights carried the weight of real experience. Machiavelli saw beyond appearances. While most philosophers wrote about ideals, morality, or the pursuit of virtue, he turned his attention to what actually worked in the shadows of influence. He studied rulers who thrived not by being loved, but by mastering perception, manipulation, and control. He understood that people often hide their true intentions, that loyalty can be bought and sold, and that weakness invites exploitation. This wasn't cynicism for its own sake. It was a recognition of the brutal conditions that decide who holds power and who loses it. In his most famous work, The Prince, Machiavelli stripped away the comforting lies that society tells itself. He revealed the hidden mechanics of authority, the delicate balance between fear and respect, the calculated use of appearances, and the ruthless decisions that must be made when survival is at stake. For him, leadership was not about pleasing everyone. It was about ensuring stability, dominance, and control, even if that meant being misunderstood or hated. And in a world where appearances deceive, he urged leaders to craft their image with precision, knowing that perception often carries more weight than truth. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding Machiavelli is not just about reading old words on a page. It is about stepping into the mindset of a man who dared to uncover the truth hidden beneath human behavior. His lessons challenge us to confront our own fears, to rethink how we make decisions, and to ask whether we have the courage to see life without illusions. And if this is already sparking something inside you, drop a comment with the words "Power is clarity," because clarity is exactly what Machiavelli sought to give us. The danger of trying to be liked is that it places your sense of worth and direction in the hands of others. When your decisions are guided by the need for approval, you are no longer in control of your own life. You are being controlled by the shifting opinions of those around you. This is one of the most subtle yet destructive traps in human psychology. People often confuse being liked with being respected, but the two are not the same. Respect is earned through strength, consistency, and clarity of purpose. Being liked, on the other hand, depends on meeting the ever-changing expectations of others, which can never truly be satisfied. Think about how this plays out in everyday life. You hesitate to speak your mind because you're worried about what others might think. You avoid difficult decisions because they might make you unpopular. You stay quiet when you should stand tall, all because you fear the loss of approval. What begins as a small compromise becomes a pattern, and that pattern eventually shapes your identity. The result is a person who appears agreeable on the surface, but who feels powerless and unseen in the moments that matter most. Psychologists have long pointed out that the constant pursuit of validation leads to anxiety, resentment, and even self-betrayal. When you place external approval above your inner compass, you weaken your ability to make bold choices. You invite others to define your value, and once that happens, they can manipulate you with ease. People sense when you need them more than they need you, and they use it to their advantage. This is why Machiavelli warned against the illusion of popularity. It creates dependence, and dependence is the opposite of power. The truth is, those who obsess over being liked often end up being neither liked nor respected. Their desire to please makes them predictable, and predictable people are easy to dismiss. Influence requires an edge, a willingness to be misunderstood, even disliked, if it means holding firm to your principles. The pursuit of approval erodes that edge, leaving you exposed and forgettable. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you understand how the hunger for approval traps you, you can begin to see the outlines of a different path, one where you no longer beg for validation, but command respect by the way you carry yourself, the way you decide, and the way you project authority. Respect lasts longer than affection, and this is the first ruthless power tactic Machiavelli presses upon us. Command respect. Do not chase affection. To be respected is to stand on solid ground, while affection is like building a house on sand. One change in the tide, and it collapses. People may enjoy your company today. They may praise you when you give them what they want, but affection is fragile, dependent on mood, circumstance, and self-interest. Respect, however, has a different weight. It is built not on convenience, but on recognition. Recognition of strength, discipline, and the ability to make difficult choices. History gives us endless examples of this. Consider leaders like George Washington. He was not adored in the way a celebrity might be adored today. He was not chasing applause. In fact, many times he made decisions that angered those around him, but what he commanded was respect. and that respect secured the foundation of a new nation. Contrast that with figures who depended on affection, leaders who rose quickly because they were charming or agreeable, only to be abandoned when admiration shifted to someone else. Popularity is unstable. Respect endures because it speaks to the deeper instincts of human nature. Even in our personal lives, the same principle applies. Think about a teacher, a mentor, or a boss you may have disliked at times but still respected. Their words carried weight, not because they tried to please you, but because they demanded standards, accountability, and consistency. You may not have liked them in every moment, but you could not dismiss them. That is the difference. Affection can be given lightly. Respect must be earned, and once earned, it is not easily forgotten. Machiavelli understood this distinction better than anyone. He warned that leaders who lean too heavily on love or popularity leave themselves vulnerable. Love is conditional. It fades when people feel slighted or when circumstances shift. Respect, on the other hand, creates a form of loyalty rooted not in emotion, but in recognition of authority. This is why he advised rulers to focus on fear and respect rather than love. It was not a call to cruelty, but a call to durability. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because learning to command respect means confronting uncomfortable truths about how we present ourselves, how we set boundaries, and how we hold to our values even when it costs us affection. And once you begin to live this way, you start to see the difference between influence that vanishes overnight and influence that survives storms. Machiavelli's most quoted principle is perhaps the one that makes people the most uncomfortable. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. At first glance, this sounds harsh, even cruel, but the deeper you look, the more sense it makes. Love is unreliable. It depends on affection, on emotions that can change in a moment. Fear, when balanced with fairness and restraint, is a far more stable foundation. It creates a boundary that cannot be crossed, a level of respect that is difficult to break. The danger, however, is in misunderstanding this tactic. Machiavelli never said that hatred should be your goal. Hatred destroys loyalty and breeds rebellion. The art lies in cultivating fear without allowing it to turn into resentment. Fear in leadership does not necessarily mean terror. It means establishing consequences. When people know that crossing you comes with a price, they think twice before acting against you. Fear, in this sense, is less about cruelty and more about clarity. It is about showing strength in a way that prevents others from testing your limits. Love may inspire loyalty for a time, but it is fear, tempered and controlled, that prevents betrayal. Leaders who are only loved risk being ignored. Leaders who are respected and slightly feared ensure that their authority is never dismissed. Think of Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. Many portray him as a gentle, noble figure, but Lincoln was also feared by his opponents and even by members of his own cabinet. He wielded authority decisively, dismissing generals who failed him, enforcing laws that were deeply unpopular, and holding the Union together with an iron will. He was not always liked, far from it, but he was respected and even feared because he proved that his decisions would not bend to comfort or approval. That balance made him effective. This balance is what Machiavelli understood so well, that a leader must never rely solely on affection, because affection can be withdrawn the moment people no longer get what they want. Fear creates stability, a constant reminder that your presence commands seriousness, but without the slide into cruelty, it prevents chaos rather than creating it. Hatred weakens, fear strengthens when used with wisdom. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you see how fear can be shaped as a tool of leadership, you begin to understand the psychology of influence on a level most people never reach. It is here, in the space between respect and fear, that true authority is built. One of Machiavelli's sharpest insights is that people rarely see reality as it is. They see reality as it appears. And this is why controlling perceptions becomes one of the most decisive power tactics. It doesn't matter how skilled, intelligent, or capable you are if the world does not perceive you that way. Machiavelli taught that reputation often carries more weight than truth itself, because human beings build their judgments not on objective facts, but on impressions, symbols, and narratives. In many ways, perception is the battlefield where power is either won or lost. Think about how this plays out in modern life. Social media has turned perception into currency. Politicians, entrepreneurs, influencers, they all curate an image, carefully crafted to signal authority, wealth, or authenticity. Whether those signals are real or not, almost, doesn't matter. What matters is that people believe them. A leader who is seen as decisive, even if he struggles behind the scenes, will always inspire more confidence than one who is competent but projects hesitation. The image speaks louder than the hidden truth. Reputation is not just what people say about you, it is what they believe you stand for. And once that belief settles, it is incredibly hard to change. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to guard their image with relentless care. Appear weak, and even if you are strong, others will treat you as weak. Appear strong, and even if you are vulnerable, others will think twice before challenging you. It may feel unfair, but this is how human psychology operates. We respond more to what seems true than to what is true. Consider the world of politics today. A candidate may lack experience, depth, or even honesty, but if they project confidence, strength, and conviction, millions will follow. On the other hand, a leader with real solutions but poor presentation can be dismissed as ineffective. The power lies not in the facts, but in the story people believe. Same principle applies to business, to relationships, and to every arena where influence matters. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you realize that perception shapes reality, you begin to see why those who ignore appearances often fall, and why those who master the art of reputation can rise beyond their limitations. And it is within this mastery of appearances that Machiavelli uncovers one of the most unsettling truths about human nature. Machiavelli believed that one of the greatest mistakes a person can make in the pursuit of power is to be too transparent. When others know exactly what you think, what you want, and how you plan to achieve it, they can anticipate your moves, undermine your strategy, and use your own openness against you. This is why he advised rulers and individuals alike to hide their intentions. Silence, mystery, and unpredictability are not weaknesses. They are shields that protect your plans from interference. When no one can read your full strategy, no one can stop it. This tactic works because human beings naturally crave certainty. When you remain unpredictable, you force others into a state of constant guessing. That uncertainty creates hesitation, and hesitation gives you leverage. In negotiations, for example, the person who speaks less often holds more power. By revealing little, you control the flow of the conversation. By keeping your intentions hidden, you become a puzzle that others cannot easily solve. And this aura of mystery itself can create authority. Think about figures like Steve Jobs. He was infamous for his secrecy, carefully revealing only fragments of his vision until the right moment. This unpredictability fueled both curiosity and control, ensuring that competitors could not easily copy his innovations before they were unveiled. Or consider political leaders who use ambiguity as a weapon, leaving their opponents uncertain about their true stance until the decisive move is made. Silence. In these moments is not passivity, it is strategy. On a personal level, you may have seen this play out in relationships or workplaces. The colleague who always reveals their ambitions too quickly becomes predictable and easy to outmaneuver. The one who moves quietly, who doesn't always explain their next step, often commands more respect because people sense there is more happening beneath the surface. Transparency may feel virtuous, but in the harsh realities of influence, it is often dangerous. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because hiding your intentions is not just about secrecy. It is about crafting a rhythm of revelation, choosing carefully when to speak, what to reveal, and when to hold back, turning your silence into a weapon as sharp as any blade of strategy. Machiavelli shattered one of the most comforting illusions about leadership, that the same morality guiding private life should also guide the pursuit of power. In his eyes, this belief was not only naive but dangerous. The standards we use in personal relationships, kindness, honesty, and selflessness, while noble, often fail when applied in the ruthless arena of politics, business, or leadership. Here, survival and influence demand something different: ruthless pragmatism. For Machiavelli, the question was never, "Is this the morally right thing to do?" but rather, "Will this decision protect my position, secure stability, and achieve results?" This perspective might sound cold, but history shows us its truth. Leaders who cling to rigid ideals often find themselves crushed by those willing to bend or break the rules. Idealism inspires, but pragmatism wins wars, holds empires together, and ensures survival when circumstances turn hostile. During crises, people may admire a leader's moral stance, but they follow the one who delivers outcomes, even if those outcomes are achieved through uncomfortable methods. Consider Winston Churchill during World War II. He made decisions that were far from idealistic, alliances with former enemies, brutal strategies that sacrificed lives, and propaganda campaigns that manipulated public opinion. Yet those decisions, pragmatic to the core, were what kept Britain alive during its darkest hours. Had he insisted on pure moral consistency, history might have turned out very differently. Ruthless pragmatism does not mean abandoning all principles. It means understanding that principles must sometimes be adapted to the demands of reality. A ruler who is too generous becomes vulnerable to exploitation. A leader who is too honest reveals weaknesses that can be used against them. Machiavelli argued that effective power requires flexibility, the ability to act merciful when it benefits you, and harsh when the situation demands it. To him, the ultimate morality of leadership was success, because failure would render every virtue meaningless. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you accept that influence, it is often won not by clinging to ideals, but by adjusting to reality. You begin to see why ruthless pragmatism is not cruelty, it is survival dressed in strategy. Machiavelli understood one of the oldest truths of human interaction. Everyone has weaknesses, but only a few know how to hide their own and exploit those of others. This is not about cruelty for its own sake. It is about psychology in action, about recognizing that power often flows to the one who can see beneath the surface of people's behavior. When you expose your own vulnerability too freely, you invite exploitation. The moment others sense where you can be broken, you hand them a weapon they will eventually use against you. That is why Machiavelli insisted, conceal your fragility, project strength, and study others closely enough to turn their flaws into your advantage. People are constantly signaling their insecurities, through words, through actions, through subtle habits they don't even notice. The leader who learns to read these signs gains a hidden map of leverage. Perhaps it is a rival's need for recognition, which can be flattered to lull them into complacency. Perhaps it is someone's fear of conflict, which can be used to push decisions in your favor. Or it may be greed, pride, or the hunger for validation, all weaknesses that can be pulled like strings to direct behavior. Those who understand these hidden levers rarely need open confrontation. They achieve control by pressing on the soft spots of others, while keeping their own carefully veiled. History is full of figures who mastered this art. Think of Queen Elizabeth I, who concealed her own vulnerabilities, her unmarried status, her precarious position as a female ruler in a hostile environment, while exploiting the ambitions and rivalries of the men around her. By never fully revealing her hand, she turned potential disadvantages into tools of manipulation, holding power for decades against overwhelming odds. The principle holds true even in daily life. In business, the negotiator who never shows desperation always secures better terms. In relationships, the person who maintains emotional composure holds influence over the one who constantly seeks reassurance. Masking vulnerability does not mean becoming stone. It means choosing carefully who sees your weaknesses and when, while ensuring your opponents never see them at all. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you learn to guard your own soft spots, while reading the hidden fears of others, you begin to see how influence is built not on force alone, but on the precise application of psychological insight. One of the most profound insights Machiavelli left us with is the necessity of patience, the discipline to always play the long game. Short-term approval may feel gratifying, but it evaporates quickly, leaving you no stronger than before. The pursuit of immediate applause, instant validation, or quick results is the downfall of many who might have otherwise held lasting influence. Machiavelli saw clearly that true power is not measured in days or weeks, but in years, decades, and sometimes lifetimes. The leader who thinks beyond the moment builds a foundation that cannot be shaken by the passing winds of public opinion. We live today in a culture addicted to instant gratification. Social media rewards the fastest reaction, the loudest voice, the most dramatic post. People chase likes, views, and trends as if these fleeting tokens could secure their future. But what happens when the applause stops? What happens when the trend shifts? Those who build only for the short term are always at the mercy of forces they cannot control. Machiavelli would have called this weakness, because it ties your destiny to the unstable approval of others. The long game requires sacrifice. It demands that you endure misunderstanding, criticism, or even temporary isolation in order to build something greater. It means making decisions today that may not win you affection, but will secure respect tomorrow. Think of leaders, entrepreneurs, or visionaries who were dismissed in their time, even ridiculed, but whose patience and persistence carried them to victory. They understood what Machiavelli taught, that the greatest rewards belong not to the one who shines briefly, but to the one who endures. In the world of business, this might mean resisting the temptation of quick profits in order to establish a brand that lasts for generations. In the personal life, it may mean rejecting shallow approval to cultivate strength of character that others eventually cannot ignore. In politics, it is the ability to think beyond the next election, to shape a legacy that continues long after you are gone. Playing the long game is not glamorous in the moment. It requires silence when others demand noise, patience when others demand speed, and vision when others are blinded by distraction. Machiavelli understood that while affection fades and power, built on fear, can be challenged, the strategy of endurance outlasts them all. The one who thinks long-term learns to bend without breaking, to adapt without surrendering, and to remain standing when others have collapsed. And this is the mark of true authority, not brilliance in a single moment, but the consistency of strength over time. Machiavelli didn't write for the weak. He wrote for those ready to rise above illusions. Stop begging to be liked. Start mastering respect, influence, and power. Which of these tactics do you think is the hardest to apply today? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's see how many of you are ready to play the long game. If you've made it all the way here, it tells me this message resonated with you on a deeper level. That's exactly why I create these videos, to bring clarity, challenge illusions, and give you tools that actually matter in your own journey. So if you want to keep walking this path with me, make sure you subscribe. That way you won't miss the next conversations that continue to unfold these truths. And let me know in the comments that you stayed until the end. Just write, "I'm in until the end." It's a small phrase, but it shows that you're part of this community of people who are ready to think differently and rise above the ordinary. If this talk struck a chord with you, leave a like as well. It's a simple gesture, but it helps keep this conversation alive and ensures more people discover it. And if you're ready to go even further, there's another video right here that dives deeper into the same kind of wisdom we explored today. Click it, and let's continue this journey together.